Toulouse cruising to the quarterfinals with a comfortable win over Racing 92. My name's Mark, let's talk rugby. Toulouse applying pressure early on. They force a couple of penalties that allows them to kick to the corner. They set up their maul. Racing look to sack it, but Toulouse regroup and then drive over. Mario Vaca is the scorer. Kinghorn misses the conversion. It's 5-0. It's all Toulouse, but it's Racing who get over the line next. They manage to turn the ball over. Fiku makes a break up the middle. Kolisi goes close in the corner. Great tackle from Aki to stop him. It's recycled inside. Then Spring goes through a gap and over to score. It's converted, but then we're brought back for a TMO check, and we see on it Willis actually manages to get under Spring and flip him over and hold him up. So try is chalked off. It's still 5-0 to Toulouse. We then come back for a Racing penalty for offside. Toulouse's defence managed to force them back from like 5 metres out to the edge of the 22 before they then turn the ball over and kick it clear, and a chance missed there for Racing. Racing then, I think it was pretty much just after this, they lose Khaleesi to injury, and that's a big blow for any team. And then, can't remember who come on to replace him, but they weren't on the field long, and they get, they have to go off as well because they fail in HIA. Toulouse then make a break through Aki, and they're on the front foot into the 22, put it through the hands, and they've just got numbers on the right. LaBelle goes over in the corner, but they could have had like 3 or 4 players queuing up to score that one. They did really well, sucking in the defence on the left, and then just, quick hands, accurate passes as well, backs and forwards in there, and they get it out to where the space is. And it looks simple, but you've got to have the skills to do it. And then Kinghorn misses the conversion. It's 10 points to 0. Restart, then kick dead by Tether, and you're already feeling it's not Racing's day today, and it's one of those ones where you may as well just give the win to Toulouse at this stage, just the way the kind of general feeling about the play and how things are going for them. Racing then, as I said, nothing really going all that right for them, and when Toulouse are coming forward, they don't really have any answers in defence either. Toulouse then, they slice open that Racing defence again, but we get called back immediately for a cleared forward pass. Despite the boos from the crowd, it looked like Toulouse are going to go in under the post. So obviously, if you're in a crowd, you don't have the right angle to see whether things are forward or not, and you're always going to go on the side of your team anyway. And when you see a guy bursting through and look like he's running in under the posts, and then it gets whistled, you're not going to be too happy. But absolutely the right call there. So that was kind of the last real action of the first half. It's 10-0 at half time, but it feels like it's more. It feels like that margin is already too much for Racing to come back from. Into the second half then, Racing, in fairness to them, they make an effort to try and get back into it at the start of the second half. But, we have some half breaks, poor handling, poor ball security, sees the chances come to nothing. Can't remember who it was, but I think it was one of the back rows was running on a break, carrying the ball in one hand, and then as he's about to take contact, I think he went to switch the ball or something, and the ball just goes flying out of his hand. It's just like, yeah, that's Racing today, all right? Just, not helping themselves, and even if they were, things weren't going to go their way anyway. Toulouse then come forward by carrying well close to the line. They're within a couple of meters there. A nice flat bullet pass from Dupont puts Coste between two defenders and over to score. Kinghorn converts for 17-0, and that should be the game. Racing then, a little bit of a rally from them. They managed to force Toulouse to carry the ball back over the long line. They win, it's a 5-minute scrum to them. Then they win a penalty at the resulting scrum. They opt for another scrum, and then they look to spread it from that. But, Toulouse coming out with a hard press, putting them under pressure. It's messy going across the line. They're just shoveling it on and getting into worse and worse situations until Jonathan Joseph knocks on. But it was a very poor pass that basically landed at his feet, and he was kind of, leaning down to try and scoop it up. So no blame on him. It was just, poor execution on their part in terms of getting that ball out to him, and also just really good defense from Toulouse. Peter Aki then gets over for the fourth try for Toulouse. Kinghorn converting 24-0, and Toulouse are out of sight. But there is at least some consolation for Racing, because no side likes to get nilled in a knockout game, and Eddie Ben Arous goes over for what is just a consolation score for them, converted by Tedder, 24-7 with just 5 minutes to go. But there's time for Toulouse to have the last say in the game. Roma over basically the very last minute. Kinghorn converts after, with the clock in the red. 31-7 is the full-time score. Toulouse, they look very comfortable for most of the game, and they're now into the quarterfinals. Racing, they went a step further. I'm pretty sure, because last year they were out at the pool stage, right? So a step further than last year. But, even with the, all the changes that they're bringing in there, with Lancaster in as the coach, and now next year they're going to have Owen Farrell there as well at 10. It still feels like there's a lot of work to be done to make this team competitive at the sharp end in Europe. But you can only have so many teams that can reach that level anyway. It's rarefied air, and for even for top teams like Toulouse or your Leinsters or your La Rochelles, it's not a persistent thing either. It's only going to last with at least a certain a group of players. It's only going to be for 3 to 5 seasons where you have that chance there to be at the very top, and you've got to get your hands on that trophy, because other teams are always snapping at your heels. So for Toulouse just to be able to pretty easily get into the quarterfinals would be nice for them. But it's one of those things, hindsight, if they go on now and they lose their quarterfinal, then people might say, oh well, because they weren't battle hardened, they had a too easy of around round 16 game. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But we'll have a look. Well, I'm going to have a look at the website for the stats, and then we might have a look at the stats, because when I looked at them a few minutes ago, it just looked terrible. Yeah, so look, I'm looking at the stats now. Tries scored apparently was 1-0 in favour of Toulouse. So I don't know where the other 24 points came from them, or those 7 points came from Racing. If there was only one try scored in the whole game. So these meters made looks about right, 476 to 442. But that could have been updated 10 minutes to go or something like that as well. So yeah, unfortunately we're not going to be able to look at the stats, because I do not trust the stats. And it's really weird. It's the premier rugby competition in Europe, and it's now 5 past the hour. The game is over, whatever, 10 or 15 minutes already, maybe 20 minutes over, and the stats aren't updated on the official website. And even a day or two after some of the games, the Friday night games or wherever, some of the stats, most of the stats were up on Friday, but there were certain stats weren't updated, and they're still not updated today. So I do not know what's going on with that, but unfortunately we don't have any stats to you. So let's just talk a little bit more about the team. So Racing again, it just felt like, even from the very start, as if they were beaten before a ball was kicked, honestly. Like before the kickoff went, and before there was anybody carried into contact, or there was like, you know, a set piece or wherever, it just felt like Racing were beaten and Toulouse are going to win. And that's the way the game started as well. Toulouse got themselves ahead, and it never felt like Racing had it in them to respond really to that. As I said, though, you know, Racing, they are building there, but it especially in this competition, it does take a lot to get to that stage where you can be competing to get into quarterfinals, semifinals, finals, lifting the trophy, etc. And, you know, they're a bit off that, but with Lancaster there, Owen Farrell coming in, etc., I expect another step forward next year, at least to be competitive in the round of 16, not necessarily make the quarterfinals, but, you know, once a team makes that step into the quarterfinals, then it kind of things change a little bit, in that, you know, you then realize that, you know, if you win that, you're into the semifinals, and then you're not that far away from potentially being able to lift the trophy. So things can, you know, if a team can click in the knockout stages, can change to them relatively quickly. But to put yourself in that position to be able to win around a 16 game, you know, it takes a lot of effort and a lot of improvement. And I think Racing still have a way to go. It doesn't mean they can't do that by next season, but it does mean that, you know, they're going to have to, you know, make a big step forward for next season as well. Toulouse, you know, they're kings of Europe for a reason. Like, they've won this competition, you know, 5 times, and that's more than anybody else. They've also, you know, beaten semi-finalists last year, and, you know, they've made so many semi-finals, quarterfinals, etc. And it's just a measure of their staying power as well as a club that, you know, other teams come and go, and we've seen, like, even in France, like the likes of Toulon, or like Clermont, who used to be a big team in this competition as well. And you've got La Rochelle there at the moment. We've got Bordeaux coming up as well, but Toulouse are always there in the mix. And it takes like a special squad and a special team to be able to do that year on year. And again, you know, this was an easy win for them into the quarterfinals. Now they're going to be playing Exeter, another beaten semi-finalist from last year. So the quarterfinals is actually interesting in terms of the draw, because we've got a matchup between the beaten semi-finalists, which is Toulouse versus Exeter, then a matchup between the two finalists. So Leinster beaten finalists versus La Rochelle, the defending, 2 times defending champions as well on that one. And then the other one, like, you know, the other matchups mean that maybe less fancy teams, you know, are going to be into that semi-final. And again, if a team gets into the semi-final, you can't rule them out. So, you know, we've got Bordeaux versus Quins for one of the matchups. So you got 2 teams with no real pedigree in the Champions Cup at all, really. And one of them is going to make a semi-final. Bordeaux, obviously, the favourites. And then Northampton versus the Bulls. So a team who for a long time have not been competitive at this level in Europe, versus a team who, you know, they're only now in their 2nd season in the Champions Cup. So one of those is going to make a semi-final as well. So, you know, I think the semi-finals this year are going to be very tasty, no matter which teams go through, because there are going to be some really good matchups there in that semi-final. Everybody obviously motivated then to get on to the final. But back to Toulouse, you know, today we saw, you know, I'm not going to say they didn't have to work for it, because obviously you got to work for your wins, but they make it look easy. Dupont is a special player. We know that already. And having him in there at 9, now always good for them, but they've got class, all over the pitch as well. And backs and forwards just, got them in position today. They created chances and then they took the chances. And that basically, if you want to win rugby games, that's what you do. But it's just some teams do it better than others. And Toulouse are right, I think, up there at the pinnacle in terms of being able to deliver in that regard. And, they go into their quarterfinal, definitely favourites to progress against Exeter onto yet another semi-final. And from there, then, if they do that, we'll talk about whether they have the ability then to go on from there and maybe get back into a final and maybe go for a 6th title, which would absolutely, without doubt, make them, well, they're already kings of Europe, but I don't know, will it be emperors of Europe or something after that? But yeah, great win for them today, and they march on.